Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk about how we can take baby steps towards sobriety and at the same time allow ourselves some grace and some compassion as we make the difficult decision to quit drinking alcohol. So let's go ahead and get into it. Before we hop into the video, as always, I just want to thank you guys so much for being here, taking a chance and listening to a little bit of what I have to say. It means so much. Please leave your sober dates in the comments so we can cheer each other on. And shout out to one of my subscribers, a friend of mine, Nappy, for suggesting this topic for today's video of taking baby steps in sobriety. It's a really great idea. And if there's ever a topic that you are struggling with or something you want to hear me talk about, feel free to leave that in the comments and I would love to do that. You can also connect with me on my Instagram pages. I will leave those right here for you if you want to come over there. I would love to have you. Other than that, let's go ahead and get into the video. I know a lot of us in sobriety and just humans in general, we can be so hard on ourselves, especially when we are trying to, kick this habit of drinking too much and we're trying to better ourselves. It can be so easy to fall into that habit of just kicking ourselves when we are down. I take a look back at my journal entries from when I was first trying to get sober and just, not able to keep the days going and going back to drinking. And I just was beating myself up so much. And it's evident in my journal entries. I'm just so hard on myself. Today, I wanted to create a space where we can be okay with not being okay and being okay with the journey and the process, because those of us who have months or years in sobriety, it did not happen overnight. It was something that we had to work at day after day after day, and it's okay to be struggling, and it's okay to not get it on your first try, because many of us don't. It takes a lot of courage to look at alcohol, realize that it is no longer serving you, and to make a choice to actively try to quit drinking and to remove alcohol from your life. That is not something that is easy to do. And there are many people who go to their grave without rectifying their issues with alcohol, and it ends up killing them, or, they live this life of regret and this shame because they aren't willing to face it. So if you are here and you are trying to face this, that takes a lot of courage, and that is something to be proud of. So cut yourself some slack and be easy with yourself. I also want to say that if you are someone who is struggling with alcohol and you've found yourself in this cycle of addiction, you are not a flawed person because of that. Alcohol is a drug. It is meant to hook you. I don't care that our society wants to glamorize it. Our society normalizes alcohol. It does not change the fact that it is a drug and its purpose is to hook you, to get you addicted. So if you found yourself struggling with quitting drinking, there's nothing wrong with you. That is what happens if you take a drug long enough. You are going to get addicted to it. That's what happens. And so please try to let go of this feeling or this belief that you are somehow flawed because you are a person who struggles with alcohol. And along with allowing ourselves that grace, I think we also need to find patience with ourselves, patience with the process. I've heard people say it and I have found it to be absolutely true in my experience, but sobriety is a marathon, not a sprint. It is a journey, and many of us are not, just deciding one day that we don't want to drink alcohol and then we never touch it again. That is not the case for so many people. For many of us, it is years of thinking about quitting, and then years of going back and forth with drinking, and then maybe some years of, trying to moderate and cutting back. until we finally make the decision to fully quit alcohol. It takes time. It is not something that happens overnight. So you have to give yourself grace and find a way to be patient with yourself. A lot of us are undoing years, decades of this self-sabotaging behavior of drinking, and it's going to take time to unravel everything and unpack, the trauma and the pain that we've buried. And it's a process. It's a journey. We're playing the long game here. So, buckle in, strap in, and, get ready for the long haul. I think the first step is acknowledging to yourself and realizing that alcohol is holding you back, is not serving you. That can be the first step in making the choice to either cut back or go cold turkey, but you have to at least have that self-awareness that, okay, this isn't serving me anymore and I need to make a change. And I say that like it's easy. Oh yeah, just acknowledge that you have a problem with alcohol. But let me tell you, that is no easy feat. And from my own personal experience, I was in denial for years about my drinking. And I was aware on some level, that alcohol was not serving me and that I was going to eventually need to quit it. I knew that on some level of my being. I was aware of that, but I wasn't quite ready. I was consuming sobriety content, watching YouTube videos, following people on Instagram who were sober a few years before I actually started to quit drinking. So if you are here and you're still drinking and you're just taking this all in, like, that's awesome, because it takes what it takes to get us to the point where we are actually ready to take action and to make the choices to quit drinking alcohol. And again, it's all a process, and don't beat yourself up for where you are on your own journey. If you are still drinking and you are still not sure, that's okay. We all have gone through that. We have all been at that point where we weren't ready to let it go. And I understand. I absolutely get that. And there's no judgment or shame here, because we've all been through it and we get it. But it takes time, and you will get there when you are ready on your own terms. It's the saying that is so repetitive, one day at a time, but it is so true. All we have is the next 24 hours, and we have to decide, what are we going to do? And for me, that's making the choice to not drink. And as you get more momentum in not drinking, and alcohol is not a part of your life anymore, and being sober is like your way of being, it's not going to be hard to make that choice. Yes, there will be times where you are tested or you're having a bad day, and you might get a fleeting thought that alcohol might make it better. But those are so few and far in between when you are building a life that doesn't include alcohol. It's just not something that your brain doesn't go there anymore. It's breaking a habit, and breaking that habit of turning to alcohol when things get hard, and turning to alcohol when you want to celebrate, and turning to alcohol when you want to drown out your feelings. When you consistently, for a long period of time, don't turn to alcohol, it doesn't become a solution for you anymore. Something that I have mentioned in some of my other videos is to journal. And especially if you are in your early days of sobriety, journaling can be so helpful. And also because when you get some sober time, you can go back and see just how far you've come, because it can be easy to forget how bad it was, how mentally drained we were, how low we were when we wanted to quit drinking. And it's just good to have on moments where you're feeling a little weak and a little like, drinking wasn't so bad. I'm just going to go back to it. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, if you have, in writing the agony of what you were going through, it's just a lot harder to choose to go back to that, because you can read your emotions and see the pain that you were living in. So I brought some journal pages out that I stumbled across this when I was cleaning out my drawers, and I don't know why it wasn't with my other journals, but for some reason, like, these pieces of paper were like crammed in somewhere, and it just really brought me back, because you know, I feel so good most of the time now. And obviously I have days where that's not the case, and life happens, and, you know, there's always going to be ups and downs. But when I was in the drinking cycle, man, I was like in survival mode, and I was just feeling like death was coming for me. I just couldn't shake this feeling like I was dying. And I know that part of it is due to, you know, the alcohol induced anxiety that I was going through, and panic attacks, and all of that was from my drinking. But also I think it was on a level of like, my soul was just crying out for help, and my, you know, my essence and just my spirit was just so was so affected by alcohol that I just felt like my clock was ticking, like I was, you know, doomed, and that I was going to die. And you know, there's just so much pain in a lot of my early journal entries in sobriety. And this is in 2021, and it's day 4 sober, and I wrote yet again with a sad face. Day 4 sober, yet again, sad face. And, you know, I'm talking about my anxiety, and there's a part that I wanted to read word for word for you guys. So this is what I wrote. I just want to be healthy and live a long life to watch my children grow up and be there for them as a stable and present mom, not an anxious, hungover mom. And wow, that just, it's painful to read that. But, you know, that is how I felt. And I felt like my drinking was going to eventually take me away from my kids. And I mean, essentially it was, because I wasn't being the mom that I can be, you know, when I was drinking and hungover and in the alcohol loop, because you're just so consumed with drinking that it doesn't leave room for you to be, you know, authentic and to be, you know, fun. And I was good at faking it for sure. And I was good at putting on a brave face for my children and getting things done that had to be done and all of that. But I was not truly living. I was not creating. I was not, you know, taking care of myself. I was not being the best version of myself that I knew I could be. And that was painful. It was painful knowing that I was not living up to who I could be, that I was not giving my children what they deserved, and also, you know, potentially putting them through the same trauma that I had lived through and, you know, swore I would never do to my kids, and, you know, all that guilt and shame that goes with daily drinking and all of that. And I share some of these things with you guys because I want you to understand that this didn't happen overnight. The 2023 version of me that you are seeing today took years. It took years of struggling with alcohol, and it took years of making it a couple days and going back to drinking, making it a week, going back to drinking, making it a month, going back to drinking, making it to 2 months, going back to drinking. You get the idea. And, you know, each time that I would have a, you know, longer period of sobriety, I was growing and I was learning and I was creating new coping mechanisms and new ways of living and showing myself that I could do it. And so if you are someone who, you know, kind of teeters and goes back and forth, that's okay. It is okay. And you're gaining more experience and you're gaining more strength and wisdom. And each time you have periods of sobriety, you don't lose that sober time. You don't lose the things you've learned, and you can take it with you and pick yourself up if you slip and if you go back to drinking. It happens. Most of us go through periods of back and forth before we finally make it stick. It's just how it is. And that is okay. Taking those baby steps and just going forward, if you do slip up and you go back to drinking for a little bit, pick yourself up and keep going. Keep getting that momentum going and moving yourself forward towards the life that you want to be living and towards being alcohol free for good. Don't give up on yourself and never quit quitting, because one day it will stick. All right, guys, I think that is going to do it. I hope that you found this helpful, and I hope that you gained something out of watching this. It means so much to me to have you guys here. I love you so much, and please let me know how you're doing in the comments. Drop your sober dates so that we can encourage each other. And until next time, I love you guys. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you real soon in the next one. Bye. Golden, golden, honestly, you know, we under the